Welcome back to Chopper's Political Podcast. This week from GB News' Westminster studio, a stone's throw from the gates of the Houses of Parliament. Weekly, I bring you the best guests, gossip and stories from the heart of Westminster. Normally, we meet in a pub in SW1, but this week we move to our studio to accommodate our guest's busy schedule. That's right, he's on the way later this week to Belfast because he is Chris Heaton-Harris, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Chris Heaton-Harris, welcome to Chopper's Political Podcast.
Thank you, Chopper. Nice to be here.
Good to have you on. We'll come on to all your jobs in a minute.
Yeah.
But you are now the Northern Ireland Secretary. You're off to Belfast this week. Do you live in Hillsborough Castle?
So I live in my constituency, but yeah, when I'm in Northern Ireland, I stay at Hillsborough Castle, which is a wonderful, wonderful place to stay.
I imagine it's full of suits of armour. The King stays there.
Yeah, the King stays there when he's in town, as do any royals. And I don't live in the kind of main bit of the castle, but it's through the kitchens attached to it. And so when no one's there, when the public leave, it is mine to meander around as I wish.
Yeah, roller skates on, Walkman on, and you shoot up and down the empty halls.
Yeah, no, so not quite Hugh Grant or Saltburn, but very much. I like to get my steps in, and 10,000 steps each day, and I like to clear my head. And walking around and looking at some of the art that's available in there, and some of the rooms where there's been great political discussions in the past is quite a place to do it.
So you've been Northern Ireland Secretary, Chief Whip, Europe Minister, Rail Minister. What's your favourite job?
My favourite job is actually Northern Ireland Secretary. I always wanted to be Chief Whip. I thought I'd be able to do a decent job at it. It wasn't quite what I expected it to be.
That was in the Boris Johnson. We'll come on to that in a minute.
Yeah, but as Secretary of State for Northern Ireland is an unbelievably brilliant job, and I've had tons of things that I needed to do. I've been left alone to get on and do them, and I'd like to think it's been going okay.
So why are you leaving then? Why are you quitting as an MP after 24 years?
Well, I did 10 years in the European Parliament, and I've just got ticked over 14 years here.
MEP, 24 years. It's a long time.
I think it's a long time, as people say now, in public service. I did it because I started off as a campaigner. I wanted to change a few things. I've not been able to change everything I wanted to change. Things have moved on, but if I stay this time, and I'm lucky enough to get elected, and my seat is a very good one, I'd be in my low, kind of like early 60s, and then I'd probably want to stay again, and then I'll be in my late 60s, and then I'd just get old. And I think now is the time. If I want to do something else at all, if I don't get out now, I never will.
26,000 majority. It's probably safe, even under the more extreme polling you've seen about the Tory party and Labour recently.
At first I don't believe any of those polls because we work it very hard, because you should never take any of these things for granted.
You're former chairman of the European Research Group of Tory MPs before it was a big deal.
When it did research, yeah.
When it did research, okay. But you're a Brexiteer. Is it job done on Brexit? I just think the government's losing the argument for Brexit.
So, we've left the European Union, and there are a whole host of... is it job done? There's going to be constant negotiations with our European partners about what our trading relationship looks like. Our relationship has massively improved in the course of the last couple of years. It needs to get a lot better. They're an important trading market for us, and we're an extremely important trading market for them. But will the job of leaving the European Union ever be done? Well, not if we're going to be...
It's a process.
Yeah, it is absolutely. It's a process, and there's always going to be things that aren't quite right.
Brexit is only as good as the people delivering it, I think. It's like the weather. I mean, it's really... Brexit is an idea...
I think you could deliver the weather, that would be great.
Forgive me, OK. But it's something you can't really... It's an idea given to you by the public, and when people blame Brexit for getting things wrong, I think it's the wrong target. It's the people delivering it.
And leaving the European Union is I actually think has. We don't sing about the achievements of what it is allowing us to do.
Well, what are
enough? Well, there's a whole host of things. I mean, look at the trade deals we're doing. If you want to get into people's pockets, there's 50 quid come off people's car insurance because of a ruling we haven't had to do. In fact, we've got these amazing trading relationships developing across the globe, which is why Northern Ireland, post the Windsor Framework, is a fascinating place to invest.
Because dual sovereignty in the EU and UK.
Because it's got dual market access for manufactured goods.
That has problems too with it, but we'll come on to those. Ireland, though, do you think Ireland played a bad hand in this? They sided with the EU against the UK during the talks, despite the cultural ties that bind our islands.
I don't think anybody should have been surprised that Ireland sided with the EU, as you put it, because Ireland are in the European Union. And I think, what my personal, one of the things where I think my side of Brexit got it wrong is that we expected that, no one expected us to win the referendum. I did. When we won the referendum, everyone expected...
You voted for Brexit.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I campaigned for it. Yeah. And was delighted that it came. Still delighted that we've left the European Union. But I expected the government to have a plan ready for when we left the European Union, when the people had decided, and it turns out it did.
But they were told not to develop one by George Osborne. He banned civil servants from doing so.
And government plans for just about every eventuality.
It should do in a binary vote,
and especially in one where it was obviously going to be relatively close. I really did expect government to have at least some plans for how it was going to talk to the European Union afterwards, and it obviously didn't. And so we've had to play a lot of catch-up from that time.
And you elected a Remainer as your Prime Minister. You was a bunch of MPs, Theresa May, to replace
Theresa May became Prime Minister. I actually, at that time, wanted Andrea Leadsom to come in because I did think you needed a Brexiteer to deliver Brexit. And I do believe Theresa May did her level best in trying to do so.
But she saw it as a problem, not an opportunity, I think, psychologically.
Politics is all about the psychology of how you approach problems. And if you're glass half full, I generally believe you can achieve more.
And you achieve more with a glass half full mindset. What do you make about concerns around the border? I mean, Dublin has been saying they've been blaming their issues with illegal migration on the fact that people are flooding south from the north.
Yeah, I mean, I firstly...
You're rolling your eyes there, by the way. This is on the podcast. Well, there's a big eye roll there.
It's a common travel area, right? So, and I think there's been issues over the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland for a few years, and the whole point of having a common travel area is that you do not police that border. It may be when you try to police it, and when people have tried to police it in the past, troubles have flowed from it, literally.
They have.
In
fact, any attempts at anything on the border, cameras were fought by Dublin, weren't they?
Exactly. So, and when people are complaining, and the Irish were saying, there's a huge number of people coming across. I mean, I don't recognise those numbers in the slightest, but.
Is it your fault as well, though? Is it hostility from Rwanda? The Rwanda scheme started to happen.
The Irish politicians said that this is because the Rwanda policy had now become an act, and so is the perceived deterrent. And of course, if it's the perceived deterrent, then it is obviously the Rwanda policy is obviously going to have some traction. And
it's working.
Yeah.
So no apologies here from London on this one.
No. I mean, we know we've got a problem to deal with. We believe Rwanda is a part of the solution to it. And if even at this early stage, the perception of it is making people change their mind about staying in the European UK, if it's trying to stop them coming through the European Union into the UK, then that is a good thing.
Yeah. No plans for checks in the Irish Sea? No. That is whatever's watching for now. Will you put passport checks on ferries or planes going into Northern Ireland?
I can guarantee
no plans or it won't happen?
There are no plans and it won't happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's pretty clear. Yeah. Well, that's what certainly the DUP are watching for. Yeah. Unionists concerned about the UK and tying Northern Ireland to GB. Do you worry about Labour coming into government? Of course, you would do it if you're a Tory MP. Yeah, they might have some questions about this.
I don't believe a Labour government will be good for my country in any shape or form.
Really? That bad?
Yeah, I do think it'll be that bad. I mean, I guess most people see what they see on the front benches, what they see on the TV screens, and they see Keir Starmer and the new suits. You don't have to adjust your head level too much in the House of Commons to see what's behind Keir Starmer. And, I think the next general election is still worth a good fight and still to be fought for. And if the Labour do well, I think they'll be relying on other people. And you just scan around the chamber and you think, oh, right, okay, I think this is a clear and present danger for my country. I do not want that to happen.
The unused advert from 92 election or 97 of the demon eyes. Do you think there are people behind Keir Starmer who voters on the Tory side should be worried about?
No, I would say you don't actually. I wouldn't say demonise. These are really principled people, but they are the Corbynistas that everybody knows what they stand for.
And you think they'll come back in under a?
They're keeping very quiet at this point in time. I mean, Keir's obviously trying to clear his party out of as many as possible. So they've genuinely gone very, very quiet. But they still exist where are we? Wednesday the 22nd. There's PMQs earlier today. The lovely MP for, I think, Coventry North West or Southwest, Zara Sultana, explained her views on the International Criminal Court and what should be happening in Israel and Gaza. And I think you don't need to look too far to see what might be coming.
But, I mean, if you look at the numbers, though, if you do get 2 interest rate cuts, you may have a budget in September to cut taxes. You may have falling net migration. Rwanda might start to work, for you, fingers crossed for you, I'm sure. There are elements of things happening over the next 5 months that will work in your favour.
Yeah, I think all those. I mean, there's a potential for all those things. Rwanda will work. I mean,
will it?
Yeah, Rwanda will work. If the perception of Rwanda's working, why wouldn't the actual scheme work? And
to work there, you've got to say the next 100 people coming across the channel, you're going to Rwanda in a week's time.
Yeah, you've got to process people properly, because you don't want those challenges. But yeah, you need to demonstrate that not just one person, and we've already sent. It's been trialled with one person to volunteer, but numbers of people are doing that, because that word needs to get out on the street, as it were, that this could possibly happen, and therefore the point of it is it completely undermines the business model of the people smugglers who are bringing all these people.
Do you get the feeling of the need for change in the country now? Is that just bored journalists dealing with the same group of people? Or is it just a new cast? I mean,
bored politicians dealing with the same group of journalists.
Yes, well, yeah, that's all of us. That's no problem. Yeah, I expect that.
I think the country's just come through a huge amount of change. In 2019, Boris Johnson got a majority, did deliver on Brexit.
So that was January 2020.
And then you walk straight into the COVID pandemic, which I don't think anybody could have expected. No. I think that was an unbelievably frightening and tumultuous time for the country, especially at the start of it. You come through, coming out of that, and then you have war in Ukraine. I think people actually just want quiet. I'm not sure change is what people are after. I think they just want stability and some common sense.
There was a 6-hour gap between the end of the restrictions on COVID in England and the start of war in Ukraine.
No, I didn't actually know that, but
it was midnight till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I think it was February 2022, from memory. Or 2021, forgive me. But anyway, there was a gap.
Yeah, we're in 22. Yeah.
22. So you've been trying to govern with this kind of decibel noise from noises off, almost like besieging the government, energy shocks or...
Yeah, and if you look at the amount of money that the government has had to spend on... And no one's complaining...
$400 billion on COVID alone.
On COVID, and then what it's cost everybody in energy costs and a whole host of other things... Ukraine and...
but you're in power. I mean, the pundits will look at that and go, well, whatever.
And actually, whatever means furlough, loans for businesses, means people are still in jobs today because of the actions that were taken, that we supported people with their energy costs. There's a whole host of things. The government can't do everything. And
people think it can now.
Yeah,
that's your problem.
Maybe it is a problem. But I mean, I think Rishi and... all Conservatives can be very proud of what we did throughout.
But you socialised large parts of the economy. Socialism, I mean.
I don't think at the time, and I always look at things, I probably got fairly on the political class at the time, but I don't think there were many other options, to be quite frank.
Well, the options in Norway, or Sweden, other Nordic countries had a different option.
Yeah, but we supported businesses and people. And we decided to do that right at the very start, and it was the right thing to do, because no one can tell you now that the economy that is in good shape and improving shape now would be in that shape had we not done that.
I'm going to come on to Boris Johnson, who was the PM for most of that time, in a second. You're a key ally of his. Just quickly on the issue of a border poll. We know in the Windsor framework there should be a vote on United Ireland at some point in the future. What triggers that?
So, not quite the same thing. The border poll is Belfast Good Friday Agreement.
Sorry, forgive me.
No problem at all. And what triggers that is a whole host of factors, but essentially whoever is Secretary of State for Northern Ireland is constantly weighing up whether there be a majority of support for United Ireland. And
what are the factors in there? So election results, opinion polls?
A whole host of things. Genuinely, a whole host of different things. Northern Ireland is constantly polling. There's other people polling, but there's societal factors. You're constantly talking to politicians and civil society. It genuinely is a whole host of things. And to be quite frank, I can't see it in my lifetime.
Really?
Yeah, genuinely.
How old are you again?
Don't finish me off quite yet. Just because my political career might be coming to an end doesn't mean everything is over.
But sorry, you're not listening. You tell me how old you are. But that's not this decade. It might be even not the next decade.
So, I mean, I think the conditions are good for there not to be a border poll for a very, very long time.
That's quite a big thing to say, isn't it? Because I guess it's if you're a glass half full, glass half empty person, you can make the facts suit your view if you're the Northern Ireland Secretary.
Well, I suppose you possibly can, but if you look at the latest polling in the Republic of Ireland about this, and actually people both vote with their hearts and their heads in these matters. I think we are a long way off that.
Okay. Quickly then, on Boris Johnson, you were his chief whip. You held all together as long as you could. You became Northern Ireland Secretary under Liz Truss. Was your party wrong to dump Boris Johnson?
Well, I obviously think my party was wrong to dump Boris Johnson.
Well, you might have changed your view. I don't know. Obviously.
No. I think he was elected Prime Minister. I mean, I generally think
because you stuck with him to the end.
Yeah, I stuck with him.
But you may have changed your view on him.
No, I haven't changed my view on him. Led was one of the people leading his when Liz was no longer announced she was standing back. I led Boris's charge to come
100 MPs to back
102 MPs to so he could be on the ballot.
Nearly a third of the party wanted him back, and he still wouldn't come.
But I'm a great believer in being pragmatic as well, and being loyal. Because I believe, not one person is the owner of the Conservative brand or Conservative thought. And I know that divided parties do not do very well.
Do you regret your role in his downfall in the sense you didn't save him? You were the chief whip.
If I could have done any more, I absolutely would have. And I do regret not. If there's stuff I missed...
Do you want to say sorry now to GB News viewers and those who might support...
Well, I think I did everything I possibly can. If they want to blame me, they're more than welcome.
What was your big mistake in not saving him?
Ooh. No, I don't think... See, I don't say there was a single...
No, it is.
I think this is a culmination of a whole host of factors. I joined his cabinet as chief whip in February 22. And that was actually just a few days. I think it was 8 days before... Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Yeah. So you can say in just those 8 days, a lot of things changed, and a lot more balls.
Was he not quick for government? Was it in him he wasn't organised enough? I mean, I look at him.
I think he was a great Prime Minister. I think he made all the right calls for the country.
On vaccine, on Ukraine, the big calls he got right, Brexit even.
Yeah.
But yet. Your colleagues kicked him out.
Politicians are a fickle bunch.
Why? Well, why is that? You've been 24 years in politics. Why did your colleagues kick him out?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I'm yet to work it out for myself. When I come out of my years of therapy after this, maybe I'd have worked out that thing. But I'm still a big fan of Boris Johnson. I still think I think he's a thought leader in Conservative thought across the globe at this point in time. And so.
And just briefly on his future, I mean, should he be invited back to campaign with the PM later this year for the election?
I think Conservatives should always come together, campaign for each other.
And should he be leader again?
I think Boris has moved. I generally think Boris has moved on. He is. If you look at, I know, he writes for different publications, but if you look at some of the speeches he's giving out, he is the thought leader in Conservative thought around the world at this point in time.
Is he?
Yeah.
What's his big thought on politics at the moment?
Well, actually, it's about our safety. It's about Ukraine. It's about Russia. It's about the challenges from China and
being tough against our foes.
It's about defence. It's about security, food security, traditional security, and the.
And that goes back to the point that
energy security, exactly, and which is why. And I really do strongly and fundamentally support Rishi and what he's done, because he's done all the right things by the country.
Can he become leader again, Boris Johnson, if Rishi Sunak ever stops being Prime Minister?
So I'm not sure if he'd ever want to. Two, I don't think. So theoretically, he'd have to find a seat, get elected at an election, and then go through the whole process again. Now, I'm not sure the country is ready for that psychodrama. I really am not.
A lot of Tory members, we get emails in from members in GB News' feedback inbox. They want him back, but whether he's up for
it. Well, you've got to. It's down to the individual, and then there's a whole process as well.
And on the Nigel Farage question.
Well, which one?
Well, the one, would you welcome him back into the party? I asked that very question of Rishi Sunak twice last year, in September and December, and each time he said we're a broad church. He wasn't talking about a murder drama in ITV. He meant I'd like to think I'm a reasonable friend of Nigel Farage. We were MEPs together for 10 years. I believe we might have shared a beer or two. We voted in the same way in a whole host of areas, especially when it came to the European referendum. And my party is a broad church. But again, it takes two to tango in this space. And I'm not... Nigel's doing other things, as you well know. He's here. He's here to the news. He's in America.
Yeah, so... and maybe, just maybe, that ship has sailed as well.
Not sure if he's answered that question, but if he answers that question to us,
it's literally down to him.
It is, right. It is. It is. Just finally, I've been missing your dad jokes.
Yeah. Well.
Chris Heaton-Harris, daily you would do a dad joke before you became chief whip, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I think over 7 years I did it for pretty much every day.
CHH Calling, I think, is your Twitter handle. I'm going to ask you for 3 jokes towards the end.
Oh, really?
But or even one. One funny one.
I've got to think of clean ones.
Yeah. Well, we can bleep out the dodgy words. You're a referee, you're a weightlifter. Will you go back to refereeing?
I will definitely be refereeing. I do enjoy my powerlifting. I had one competition.
Do you powerlift?
Yeah. And which means you have to wear a singlet, which is not a sight you want to see a man in.
Is it veterans powerlifting you enter?
So yeah, it is. Well, I know. So the less British powerlifting, they call it slightly. It's called Masters. And I'm in the age group Masters 2, which I think makes me sound like an Avenger.
Yes.
So...
sequel to Masters 1.
Yeah. Just a bit older than Masters. So...
What can you lift or bench?
So my best deadlift available on my Instagram. It wasn't superb. It definitely wasn't competition quality, and it was with a hex bar. Was 200 kilograms.
That's heavy.
It was very heavy.
That's many times over twice your
2.5 my body times my body.
You're like an ant.
Yeah, all I need is a deck and I could have a TV career.
What made you? There's your first joke. Thank you, listeners. Your first joke from Chris Heaton-Harris as he escapes from politics. What makes you become a powerlifter? I mean, and a veteran one of that.
Actually, it was a family member coming home for lockdown who was into it, and my daughter got me into it. She had competed just once before the first lockdown. I managed to find some weights. A lady in my constituency had a company that provided barbells, etc., to hotels, and she was ripping them out of hotels because they were all shut down. So she had the one and only basically supply of these things. I managed to get some, and so
amazing. Do you walk better, or are you better?
I feel
better.
Yes, I think it gives me more inward confidence.
And we're talking a week here when we are seeing, I think, a reminder of why people like you become MPs. There was an idea, a goal of public service epitomised by Craig McKinley. Now, he's a Marmite MP for many on the left because of his views on Brexit, on climate change, net zero and the like. But you saw the applause in Prime Minister's questions on Wednesday. Were you in the chamber for that?
No, I'm afraid I wasn't. I was watching it on TV
and
in my
it was
department.
Something else, wasn't it?
It was quite... I always think things are amazing. I mean, I can't believe how emotional it would have been in the chamber because, we're in tears in the office watching it on the TV. And, but everybody in politics, I'm absolutely convinced everybody in politics goes into it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And you sometimes get people who fall by the wayside for maybe not so great things, but the vast bulk, the huge majority of politicians are all doing the right things for the right reasons. I disagree with people on the left massively, but I do respect a lot of them because I know lots of them are very good MPs, and I admire that.
And he's fighting his seat, Thanet South, to be called Thanet East or East Thanet after the changes in the autumn election. We assume it's the autumn unless it's called suddenly this week. You've been added to the list of those leaving Parliament, haven't you?
Yeah.
But you've got your own reasons, and everyone's got their own reasons.
Yeah.
But the feeling, isn't there, of an exit of Tory MPs, but Craig McKinley is going to fight for your cause. Why won't more of you hang around and fight with Craig?
I'll be fighting.
And you've got your own reason.
I will be fighting for Tories up and down the country, and I'll happily fight for Craig as well. I mean, I'm not going anywhere that fast. I'm just not going to be in elected politics.
So it's a feeling of an exodus at the moment.
But I think that's not completely fair. We had a brand new intake, massive intake, so massive change in 2019. Had a big change in 2010, big change in 97. Every now and again we go through these quite big churns in Parliament. This is another one of those times.
And what's the first thing you'll do when you've quit as an MP, whenever that is? Assuming it's this year.
I'm going to write a book or two.
Oh.
But not any good ones, and probably not.
Novels?
Probably not for
factual.
Definitely, no. I've already kind of a novel. But nothing. Not for anybody else. It's for me.
Okay. Perhaps me. Email me. I might read it.
No one's going to read it.
Listen, Chris Heaton-Harris, it's been great to have you on Chopper's Political Podcast. Thank you for supporting the podcast and coming on. And seeing you here in GB News' studio. It'd be great to have you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. I'd love to know your thoughts on what Chris Heaton-Harris had to say. Tweet me, Christopher Hope on X, and don't forget CHH calling for his best jokes. By the way, what is a joke, quickly?
A quick one. One of my mates said what he said was the worst job in the world. He was in a French egg-producing factory. He had to scratch the 12th letter of the alphabet on each egg when the traceability machines went wrong. He said the job was L on Earth.
L on Earth. Blimey, like this podcast. But thank you for that, Chris Heaton-Harris. Do email me, chopper@gbnews.uk. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do tell your friends. If you really enjoyed it, like I have after that joke from Chris Heaton-Harris, leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps other people find this podcast. Thank the brilliant team behind this podcast on GB News, a cast of thousands, notably Mick Booker, Jeff Marsh, Rebecca News, George McMillan, and many other camera operators. But most importantly of all, thank you to you for listening and watching. If you want more Chopper in your life, and frankly, who doesn't, catch me weekly on PMQ's Live on GB News when Parliament is sitting.